In the dying days of the 16th century, when shadows clung thicker to the walls than the candlelight dared to chase away, the house that would one day be called the Turkish House in the Elizabethstadt of Timișoara was not yet a relic. It lived. Nestled within the midst of what would become Timișoara's Elizabeth district, the great stone harem of Kazim Pasha stood silent to outsiders, but those within knew better. The walls whispered, the floors groaned with secrets, and the cellar pulsed with a heartbeat too slow to be human. It was said that even the air trembled when the Pasha walked through the corridors, trailing behind him the scent of myrrh and blood. There were many women in the harem, dozens. None left, none dared, except Melek. Melek was just 17 when the Pasha first laid eyes on her, a girl born of a captured Albanian mother and a merchant father who had died with defiance on his tongue, executed for refusing to offer his silks to the Ottoman court. Her name meant angel, but there was nothing divine in what the stars had carved for her. Fate did not lift her, it caged her. She was taken to the harem like a relic, adorned in silk, veiled in silence, her voice wrapped in obedience. She was breathtaking in the way dreams turn to omens, skin the color of crushed almonds steeped in cream, hair that flowed like spilled ink across her shoulders, and eyes the green of spring leaves lit from within. The Pasha made her his prized treasure, his living ornament, displaying her like a trophy carved by Allah himself. But Melek's beauty was a shell. Her soul remained untouched, curled tight like a fist inside her chest. She never gave him her heart, not even a heartbeat, until she saw him. He was foreign, Christian, a Hungarian stoneworker brought in to assess the failing foundations beneath the wine cellar. His name was Arpad. He had hands roughened by labor and eyes that lingered not with lust, but with sorrow, as if he carried apologies he'd never speak. When he looked at Melek, it was not as a man looks at a jewel, but as a prisoner might gaze through the bars at the horizon. Something ancient and reckless stirred in her. They began in glances, furtive, fragile. Then came the whispered words, exchanged like contraband behind silken partitions. And then, one night, in a forgotten alcove near the east courtyard, they met in flesh. Moonlight sifted down through fractured latticework, painted them in shards of silver. The air was heavy with jasmine, with a damp scent of old stone and forbidden longing. Their love unfurled in shadows, in stolen seconds and unspoken vows. It grew in silence. It survived in secrecy. And most dangerously of all, it bloomed in hope. It was Fatima, a jealous consort, who told the Pasha. That night the house turned colder than it had ever been, though no wind blew, and the fires blazed high. The walls no longer whispered, they screamed. Melek was dragged before the Pasha at the hour before dawn, when even the stars seemed to hide. He stood over her in his ceremonial robes, dark velvet with gold that shimmered like serpent scales. His eyes, black as tar, stared down into hers with a silence that thickened the air. "You wish to see a world without me, little angel?" he asked, voice smooth as boiled honey. "Then you shall see nothing." He lifted his hand. The air split with a sound like tearing silk. Melek screamed as pain like molten glass surged through her head. Her world shattered, not into darkness, but into red. Blinding, pulsing red. Blood flooded her eyes. She clawed at her face, but nothing stopped the burning. She could feel them, her eyes, melting, imploding, vanishing into the void of her skull. She didn't pass out. The Pasha made sure she remained. When the guards tossed her into the courtyard hours later, the world had become still. Not silent. She heard the birds, the moaning trees, but she could no longer see them. She never would again. Arpad found her there, curled into the fountain's shadow, her once beautiful eyes now sunken scars, blood dried like tears etched in rust. He lifted her, not flinching at the sight, and wrapped her in his coat. They ran, beneath the stirring city, through tunnels hewn long ago by hands preparing for forgotten wars. It was once believed that the Turkish house was linked by these underground passages to distant fortresses, stretching hundreds of kilometers. Arpad knew the way. He murmured comfort, sang softly to her, told her the sky above was a clear, brilliant blue, and that the birds flew low, as if leading them forward. But behind them, the Pasha's curse pressed close. The tunnels twisted unnaturally. Rats fled in eerie silence. And always, always, there lingered that scent, myrrh and blood. They emerged near the Baga River, where an old bridge arched over waters thick with algae and fog. Melek, stumbling and dazed, asked to stop. Her voice was different now, hoarse, hollow, as though each word cost her a piece of her soul. Arpad held her face. "We'll cross the river, then south. We'll find a monastery. You'll be safe." "No," she said. "We'll be safe." They kissed, and then the wood beneath them snapped. Some say the Pasha sent spirits to chase them. Some say the bridge simply gave in to age. Whatever the truth, the world heaved, and Melek fell. Arpad caught her hand, but not before her head slammed against the stones below. She screamed only once, then went still. When he pulled her out of the water, she wasn't breathing. He wept, he begged, and slowly Melek gasped, choked, and coughed up blood and river water. She lived, but something was gone now. Not just her sight, not just her beauty. Something else had slipped away. They lived hidden after that, far from the city, in a cabin near the marshes, where no one came, where fog lingered even at noon. Arpad loved her fiercely. He described the world to her, carved wooden animals for her fingers to know, taught her to walk the forest trails without a cane. But Melek had changed. At night she whispered in her sleep, words in a tongue Arpad did not know, Ottoman or older. She said they were watching. She said he was still there. Some nights she woke screaming, clawing at her empty sockets, insisting she saw eyes. Not her own, not human, eyes in the walls, eyes behind the mirrors, eyes in the trees. Arpad burned the mirrors, tore the walls down, moved her bed to the center of the cabin, but still she saw them. Years passed. Arpad grew gray. Melek remained the same, her skin pale, her face ageless, her body thin as reed. One winter, when the snow fell and never melted, Melek woke from sleep and said, "The house is calling." "What house?" Arpad asked. "His house, the harem, the one that breathes." Arpad trembled. "It burned, I heard it, years ago." "The stones do not burn, the stones remember." That night she walked barefoot through the snow, wearing only the veil she was taken in. Arpad followed, crying, pleading. She stopped in the Elisabethstadt. And there it was, the house, standing whole, not ruined, not ash, the Turkish house, lit from within by a flickering yellow light. Windows empty, but watching. Melek stepped into the threshold. Her feet bled on the marble. The smell hit her instantly. Myrrh and blood. She turned to Arpad. Her empty eyes oozed tears. He waits, but so do I. Melek, don't. I remember his curse, but I also remember you. She leaned in, kissed him once, slow and gentle. True love does not see, it only knows. And then, in that final harrowing instant, her eyes ignited, not with light, but with fire, slow, crimson, and ancient. It wasn't warmth that burned there. It was ruin. The curse didn't lift. It twisted, reversed, curled back in on her like smoke returning to the flame. And in the space of a single heartbeat, she saw. But it wasn't Arpad standing before her. It was the Pasha, smiling, not with lips, but with a stretch of human flesh pulled taut across something else, something that paused, shifted, melted into a form the shadows welcomed home. Then came the dark, not absence of light, but presence of hunger. And this time, Arpad did nothing to stop it. He let her go, or perhaps he never could. To this day, the Turkish house in Timișoara groans when no foot touches its floorboards. Some swear the walls exhale. Others hear weeping rise from beneath the earth, beneath the cellar, as though something buried remembers how to mourn. No one knows where Melek went. No one saw her leave. Some believe she still hasn't. On moonless nights when the fog hugs the streets too tightly, passers-by sometimes glance up to the highest window. They say there are two figures there. A man stands beside a woman, his hand wrapped around hers like a vow never fulfilled. She stares into the dark, with no eyes, but she smiles.